These shows display not only beautiful and inventive clothes, but a marvelous depth of imagination. In the 90s, the runways really evolved as a medium of creative expression, the show as an experience. Each of these shows captured beauty and imagination in their own way, and for the photographer, that is the great reward, the beauty. These are some of my most memorable experiences of Paris Fashion Week. This was another late night on the fashion trail. This show took place inconveniently way on the south of Paris Center. It was a long subway ride to an area that I'd never visited before, and I don't think I've been since, in the 14th arrondissement. Gaultier had taken a cavernous industrial space, and the whole ceiling was strung with little lights, very primitive and rustically done, like a kid's rendition of the Northern Lights. This was the only lighting for the show, so photographically, especially shooting film, it wasn't exactly ideal. In fact, it was a huge railroad graveyard. As it was explained to me, this was where old trains were put to rest. The floor was covered in what seemed to be extruded white plastic cheese doodles that gave the impression of snow, again, very childlike. Those little cheese doodles also unfortunately gave off plastic fumes that were initially quite strong and rather disturbing, but eventually that feature disappeared. Gaultier presented his mixed-up tribal references in rich colors, lustrous fabrics, and unusual patterns. But taken apart item by item, they were perfectly wearable pieces. I love the elaborate braids and headpieces. His approach to accessories is always unique. And unusual models added a certain quirkiness that is all Gaultier. The woman in the yellow sweater was not more than 4 feet tall, and that's the actress Rosie de Palma on the right. A very happy Bjork closed the show with her soundtrack playing. It was a completely uplifting experience. This show took place in October of '94. Galiano had lost his backing. In the early part of the 90s, Silk-Cut Cigarettes sponsored its shows. But this time around, he had no money to do a show in the Paris tents. I learned about it through word of mouth, so I wasn't exactly certain that it was really taking place. I had no invitation. It was late at night. I can't even remember how I got the address for the show. It was all based on hearsay and rumors. When I found the place in a kind of rundown part of Paris, miraculously, there was no security or PR at the door. I slipped in and quickly took my place. The show opened with a kind of tough guy with a bottle of beer in his hand, leaning against an old car throughout the show. He followed the girls with his eyes as they walked by. The girls stopped and posed, not really looking at the audience. This is Amber Valletta. A makeshift array of chairs were placed around the perimeter of the space for the guests. There weren't many outfits in the show, as was typical of Galiano. The girls, all of them top girls, took the time to pose languorously in front of the gorgeous vintage Oldsmobile. And that's Helena Christensen on the left and Anne Dwong, who is now a painter. This was the golden age of the supermodels, and it was unsurpassed. Many exceptional girls. Kate wore a smashing piqué suit with fantastic sleeve detail. The hair was lacquered into place, and the girls looked very beautiful. Nadja Auerman wore a 50s style evening dress with a huge tulle skirt. And Linda Evangelista closed the show in a gorgeous yellow gown with a feathered bodice, the tulle netting around her head like a little cloud. The audience loved it. This was a marvelous presentation held at the famous Moulin Rouge Cabaret. It's located in the area known as Pigalle, which is considered the red light district of Paris. Lots of sex shops and video parlors. The Moulin Rouge, essentially a snazzy strip club, was an odd choice for a show based on wedding attire, but that added a wry twist to Yoji's concept. He's known for rather harsh lighting, and the floor was a blare of white light. The models would walk into the space, walked towards the photographers, and then turned and walked towards the audience. It was a beautiful collection with many of Yoji's signature ample volumes in austere fabrics. Some of the girls would discard parts of their outfits as the show progressed. Shalom wore a wonderful strapless dress in multi-layers. None of his girls wore high heels, but of course the big beautiful hats were spectacular. As is fitting for a man in love with black, he also proposed black wedding gowns. For a celebrity couple, model Angela Lindvall and Vogue's Andre Leontali played husband and husband. And I have one more to show you, which is